Quick here wouldn't harm a hair of your head. Stop your grinning, shouted I. And why didn't you tell me that the infernal harpooner was a cannibal? I thought know it. Didn't tell ya he was a peddling heads around town, but turn floats again and go to sleep. Quickhead, look here, you saved me. I save you. This man sleep you. You save him? You save me? Me save plenty, grunted Quickhead, puffing away at his pipe and sitting up in bed. You get it in, he added, motioning to me with his tomahawk and throwing the clothes to one side. He really did this in not only a civil but really kind of charitable way. I stood looking at him a moment. For all these tattooings, he was on the whole a clean, comely looking a cannibal. What's all this fuss I have been making about? Thought I to myself. The man's a human being just as I am. He has just as much reasons to fear me as I have to be afraid of him. Better sleep with a sober cannibal than drunken Christian. Landlord said. I tell him to stash his tomahawk there or pipe or whatever you call it. Tell him to stop smoking in short, and I will turn with him. Her Asian decks were worn and wrinkled, like the pilgrim worship flagstones in Canterbury Cathedral, where Becket bled, but to all these her old antiquities were added new and marvelous features, pertaining to the wild business that for more than a half-century she had followed, all Captain Peleg, many years her chief mate, before her commanded another vessel of his own, and now a retired seaman and one of the principal owners of the Packwood. This old Peleg, during the term of the chief mateship, had built upon her original robustious and inlaid it all over with a quietness, both of material and device, unmatched by anything except it be Thornkill, Hakes, carbuncular of or bedstead. She was apparelled like any barbaric Ethiopian emperor, his neck heavy with pendants of polished ivory. She was a thing of trophy, a cannibal of craft, striking herself forth in the chased bones of her enemies. All round her unimpaled open bulwarks were garnished like one continuous jaw with the long sharp teeth of the sperm whale, inserted there for pinks to fasten her old hempen thews and tendons to. Those thews ran not through base blocks of lang wood, but deftly traveled over sheaves of sea ivory, scorning a turnstile wheel at her revered helm. She sported there a tiller, and that tiller was in one mast curiously carved from the long, narrow lower jaw of the hereditary foe. The helmsman who lower jaw of her hereditary foe, the helmsman who steered by that tiller in a tempest, felt like the Tartar when he holds back his fiery steed by clutching its jaw. A noble craft, but somehow a most melancholy. All noble things are touched with that. Now when I look about the quarter-deck for some one having authority in order to propose myself as a candidate for the voyage, at first I saw nobody, but I could now well overlook a strange sort of tent, or rather wigwam, pitched a little behind the main mast. It seemed only a temporary erection used in ports. It was of a conical shape, some 10 feet high, consisting of the long huge slabs of limber black bones taken from the middle and the highest part of the jaws of the right whale, planted with their broad end on the deck. A circle of these slabs laced together, mutually sloped towards each other, and at the apex united in a tufted point where the loose hairy fibers waved to and fro like the thumb note on an old Potawatomi sachem had a triangular opening face towards the bows of the ships, so that the insider commanded a complete view forward. And half concealed in this queer tenement, I at length found one who by his aspect seemed to have authority, and who, it being noon and the ship's work suspended, was now enjoying respite from the burden of command. He was seated on an old-fashioned oaken chair, wriggling all over with curious curving, and the bottom of which was formed of a stout interlacing of the same elastic stuff of which the wigwam was constructed. There was nothing so very particular, perhaps, about the appearance of the elderly man I saw. He was brown and browny, like most old seamen, and heavily rolled up in blue pilot cloth cut in quarter style. Only was a fine and almost microscopic network of the minutest wrinkles interlacing round his eyes, which must have arisen from his continual sailings in many hard scales, and always looking to windwards. For this causes the muscles about the eyes to be compressed together. Such eye wrinkles are very effectual in a school. "Indeed, the captain of the packboat," said I, advancing to the doctor of the tent. "Supposing it be the captain of the packboat, what dost thou what of him?" he demanded. "I was thinking of shipping." Wast thou? I see thou art not Nantucker, ever being in a boat." "No, sir, I never have." "Dost know nothing at all about whaling, I dare say, eh?" "Nothing, sir, but I have no doubt I shall soon learn. I've been several voyages in the merchant service, and I think that merchant service be damned. Talk not that lingo to me. Don't see that leg? I'll take that leg away from thee stern, if ever thou talkest of the merchant service to me again. Merchant service, indeed. I suppose now you'll feel considerable proud of having served in those merchant ships. But flukes, man, what makes thee want to go a whaling, eh? It looks like suspicious, don't it? Has not being a pirate has thought? Didst not Rovi thy last captain, didst thou? Dost not think of murdering the officer when you gettest to sea? I protest my innocence of these things. I saw that under the mask of this half-humorous inodus, this old seaman, as an insulated quakerish Nantucker, was full of his insular prejudices and rather distrustful of all aliens unless they hail from Cape Cod or the Vineyard. "But what takes thee of whaling? I want to know that before I think of shipping ye." "Well, sir, I want to see what whaling is. I want to see the world. What to think what whaling is, Have ye a eye on the Captain Ahab?" "Who is Captain Ahab, sir?" I thought so. Captain Ahab is the captain of the ship." I am mistaken then. I thought I was speaking to the captain himself. Thou art speaking to Captain Peleg. That's who ye are speaking to, young man. It belongs to me and Captain Billet to see the packboat fitted out for the voyage and supplied with all her needs, including crew. We are part owners and agents, but as I was going to say, if thou wantest to know what whaling is, as thou tellest, do I can put in a way of finding it out before you bind yourself to it. Pass by out. Clap eye on Captain Ahab, young man, and thou wilt find that he has only one leg." "What do you mean, sir?" "What, the other one lost by a whale." "Lost by a whale, young man? Come nearer to me." It was devoured, chewed up, crunched by the monstrous permacety that ever shipped a boat. I was a little alarmed by this energy, perhaps also a little touched at the hearty grief in his concluding exclamation, but said as calmly as I could, "What you say is no doubt true enough, sir, but how could I know there was any peculiar ferocity in that particular whale? That indeed I might have inferred as much, but the simple fact of the accident. Look now, young man, the lungs are sort of soft. Do you see? Thou dost not talk shark a bit. Sure, you have been to sea before now. Sure of that, sir? Said I. I thought I told you that I had been 4 voyages in the Martian. Hard down of that. Mind what I said about the merchant service. Don't aggravate me, I won't have it. But let us understand each other. I have given them a hint about what whaling is. Dude, yeah, feeling clear for it? I do, sir. Very good. Now are the men to pitch a harpoon down I like Wall's throat, and then jump after it, and answer quick. I am, sir, if it should be positively indispensable to do so, not to be got rid of that is, which I don't take to be the fact. Good again. Now then, thou not only wantest to go a walling to find out by experience what walling is, but ye also want to go in order to see the world? Was not that uh was not that what you say? I thought so. Well then just step forward there and take a peep over the weather boat, and then back to me and tell me what you see there. For a moment I stood a little puzzled by this curious request, not knowing exactly how to take it, whether humorously or in earnest, but concentrating all his crown's feet into one skull. Captain Peleg started me on the errand. Going forward and glancing over the weather bow, I perceived that the ship swinging to her anchor with the flow tide was not obliquely pointing towards the open ocean. The prospect was unlimited, but exceedingly monotonous, and forbidding not to the highest variety that I could see. Well, what's the report? Said Peleg. When I came back, what did you see? Not much, I replied. Nothing but water, considerable horizon thought, and there's a squall coming up, I think. Well, what does Don think then of seeing the world? Do you wish to go round Cape Horn to see any more of it? Can you see the world where you stand? I was a little starter, but I go a walling almost and I would. And the Pequod was as good a ship as any. I thought that the best on all this, and all repeated to Pelé. Seeing me so determined, he expressed his willingness to ship me, and thought Mayes as well signed the papers right off, and added, "Come along with ya." And so saying, he led the way below deck into the cabin. Seated on the transform was what seemed to me a most uncommon and surprised figure. It turned out to be Captain Bildad, who, along with Captain Peleg, was one of the largest owners of the vessel. The others share, as if sometimes the case in these ports, being held by a crowd of annuitants, widows, fatherless children, and chancery wards, each owning about the value of a timber head or a foot of plank, or a nail or two in the ship. Not to get investor money in whaling vessels the same way that you do in your approach state and stock, bringing in good interest. Now Bildad, like Peleg and indeed many other Nantucketers, was a Quaker, the island having been originally set by the sect and to this day inhabitants in general retaining uncommon measure the peculiarities of the Quaker, only variously and anomalously modified by things altogether alien and heterogeneous. For some of these same Quakers are the most sanguinary of all sailors and wall hunters. They are fighting Quakers, they are Quaker with a vengeance, so that there are instances among them of men who name with Scripture's name a singularly common fashion on the island, and childhood naturally inviting the stately dramatic thee, and thought of the Quaker idiom, still from the audacious, daring and boundless adventure of their substances slaves, as strangely blend with these uncountable grove peculiarities and thousand bold dashes of character, not unworthy in Scandinavian sea king or a poetical pagan Roman. And when these things united in a man of greatly superior natural force, with a global brain and ponderous heart, who has also by stillness and discretion of one heart, who has also by the stillness and discretion many long night watches in the remote waters and beneath constellation never seen here at the north, being led to think untraditionally and independently, receiving all nature's sweet or savage impression fresh from her own virgin voluntarily and confiding race, and thirdly, chiefly, but with some help from accidental advantages, to learn a bold, nervous, lofty language that makes me makes men one in a whole nation's senses. A mighty pageant creature formed from novelist tragedies, nor will it all detract from him. Dramatically regarded, if either by birth or other circumstances, he have what seemed a half willful, overruling morbidness as the bottom of his nature. For all men tragically great are made or so saw a certain morbidness. Be sure great are made so through a certain morbidness. Be sure of this. A young ambition of mortal's greatness is but disease. But as yet we have not to do with such an one, but with quite another, and still a man who, if indeed quaker modified by individual circumstances, like Captain Peleg, Captain Bill, that was a well-to-do, retired whalesman, but unlike like Captain Peleg, who cared not a rush for what are called serious things, and indeed do those self same serious things the veriest of all trifles. Captain Bilder had not only been originally educated according to the strictest sect of Nantucker Quakers him, but all these subsequent ocean life and the sight of many unclothed lovely island creatures round the Horn, all that had not moved this native-born Quaker. One single jot had not so much as altered one angle of his best. Still, for all this immutableness, was there some lack of common consistency about worthy Captain Peleg, thought refusing from conscientious scruples to bear arms against landing banders, yet himself had illimitably invaded the Atlantic and Pacific, and thought it sworn foe to human bloodshed. Yet had he in his dry body cut spilled tons upon turns of Leviathan gore. How now in the contemplative evening of his days the pious builder reconciled these things in the reminiscence, I do not know, but it did not seem to concern him much, and very probably he had long since come to the age and sensibly conclusion that a man's religion is one thing and this practical world quite another. On his long gaunt body he carried no spurs, flesh, no superfluous beard, his chin having a soft, economical nap to it, like the warm nap of his broad-brimmed hat. Such, then, was the person that I saw seated on the transom when I followed Captain Peleg down into the cabin. The space between the decks was small, and there, bold upright, self-builded, who always sat so, and never leaned, and this to save his coat tails. His broad brim was placed behind him. His legs were stiffly crossed. His drab vesture was buttoned up to his chin and spectacles on nose. He seemed absorbed in reading from a ponderous volume. Bildad, cried Captain Peleg. And it again Bildad. Eh? Yeah, having been studying those scriptures now for the last 30 years to my certain knowledge, how far you go, Bildad? As if long habituated to such profane talk from his old shipmate, Bildad, without noticing his present irreverence, quietly looked up, and seeing me, glanced again inquiringly towards Peleg. He says he's our man, Bildad, said Peleg. He wants to ship. Those see, said Bildad in a hollow tone and turning round to me. I does, said I unconsciously. He was so intense a Quaker. What do you think of him, Bildad? Said Peleg. He'll do, said Bildad, eyeing me, and then went on spelling away at this book in a mumbling tone quite audible. I thought him the queerest old Quaker I ever seen, especially as Peleg, his friend and old shipmate, seemed such a bluster. But I said nothing, only looking round me sharply. Peleg now threw open a chest, and drawing forth the ship's articles, placed pen and ink before him, and seated himself a little table, I began to think it was high time to settle with myself at what term I would be willing to engage for the voyage. I was already aware that in the whaling business they pay no wages, but all hands, including the captain, received certain shares of the profits called lays, and that these lays were proportionate to the degree of importance pertaining to the respective duties of the ship's company. I was also aware that being a green hand at whaling, my own lay would not be very large, but considering that I was used to the sea, could steer a ship, splice a rope, and all that, I made no doubt that from all I had heard, I should be offered at least the 275th lay, that is, the 275th part of the clear net proceeds of the voyage, whatever that might eventually amount to. Chapter 19. The Prophet. Shipmates, have you shipped in that ship? Wicked and I had just left the Pequod and were santering away from the water, for the moment each occupied with his own thoughts, when the above words were put to us by a stranger, who, pausing before us, leveled his massive forefinger at the vessel in question. He was but shabbily apparelled in faded jacket and patched trousers, a rag of black handkerchief investing his neck. A confluent smallpox had in all directions flowed over his face and left it like the complicated ribbed bed of a torrent when the rushing waters have been dried up. Have you shipped in her? He repeated. You mean the ship Pequod, I suppose? Said I, trying to gain a little more time for an interrupted look at him. Aye, the Pequod, that ship there, he said, drawing back his whole arm and then rapidly shoving it straight out from him, with the fixed bayonet of his pointed finger darted full at the object. Yes, said I, we have just signed the articles. Anything down there about your souls? About what? Oh, perhaps you haven't got any, he said quickly. No matter, sir. I know many chaps that haven't got any. Good luck to 'em. And they are all the better for it. A soul's a sort of a fifth wheel to a wagon. What are you jabbering about, shipmate? Said I. He's got enough thought to make up for all deficiencies of that sort in other chaps, abruptly said the stranger, placing a nervous emphasis upon the word he. Quicket, said I. Let's go. This fellow has broken loose from somewhere. He's talking about something and somebody we know. Stop, cried the stranger. Yes, said True. You haven't seen Old Thunder yet, have you? Who's Old Thunder? Said I, again riveted with the insane earnestness of his manner. Captain Ahab. What? Captain of our ship, the Pequod. I among some of us old sailors chaps, he goes by that name. You haven't seen him yet, have you? No, we haven't. He's sick, they say, but it's getting better, and we'll be all right again before long. All right again, before long, laughed the stranger, with a solemnly derisive sort of laugh. Look ya, when Captain Ahab is all right, then this left arm of mine will be all right, not before. What do you know about him? What did they tell you about him? Say that. They didn't tell much of anything about him. Only I have heard that he is a good whale hunter and a good captain to his crew. That's true, yes, both true enough. but you must jump when he gives an order. Step and grow. Step and grow. Grow and go. That's the word with Captain Ahab. But nothing about the thing that happened to him up Cape Horn long ago, when he lay like dead for 3 days and nights. Nothing about that deadly scrimmage with the Spaniard before the altar in Santa. Heard nothing about that? Huh? Nothing about the silver calabash he's patting to, and nothing about his losing his leg last voyage according to the prophecy. Didn't you